All right, welcome back to the program. It's now 7:15 a.m. All right. So let's talk about and what you should be expecting. Again, we'll also be taking a look at what you have on the front page of our local dailies. Starting with the Daily Nation. Let me start with the Daily Nation. Let me get to that. All right, so there we have it. On the front page of the Daily Nation is more of what happened yesterday. That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Pandemonium says that it was a day like no other after mass of youthful protesters angered by the government's move to forge ahead with the controversial tax bill breached security and broke into parliament buildings, the seat of the country's legislature. Young lives were lost while hundreds were injured when police opened fire on demonstrators who had taken to the streets in 35 counties across the country. Property worth millions of shillings were destroyed, already shuttered shops vandalized, and businesses associated in a day of heightened pandemonium. That is the story that is making the headlines, and it continues on the inner pages. Page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and page 12. You can take a look at that story, taking cost of what really happened. Let's reason together. Kenya belongs to all of us. That is another situation happening. There is now an issue, perhaps you can call it the finance bill crisis. President Ruto issues treason warning as military unleashed against riots. This is also on the front page of the Daily Nation. At this particular point, allow me to bring in Mheshimiwa Wilson Sossion, who is former NAT Secretary General and CS. So I'm also waiting for Mheshimiwa Peter Orero, Mheshimiwa, the great people of Kibra constituency. Mheshimiwa Sossion, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Pandemonium, that is what's on the Daily Nation front page. What do you make of that?
Well, what we witnessed yesterday was, of course, initially it was Gen Z taking advantage of the provision of Article 7 of the Constitution to peaceably picket and unarmed. But we witnessed deviation from that there's a lot of violent actions, breaking the fence of Parliament, invading Parliament, destroying property of Parliament. Simple issue. It has never happened since independence that Parliament is invaded violently and property destroyed. That actually is not picketing. Those are criminal actions, and they are treasonable offenses because that is an attack on the heart of the democratic institutions of this country. If you look at it is an abomination to do such near the Congress, but you can demonstrate outside the White House. Yeah. And any action on this is actually desecration of the democratic institutions. It wasn't right. That one is given. But when violence accompanies it's fundamentally it's not right. Then at the end of the day, was it really all about the finance bill, or there could be other issues? So I think the country has to get into some deep introspection, and we should know how to express ourselves in a democratic space, in a peaceful manner, that we don't injure the rights of others, and also we don't demean the integrity of the nation internationally, because that is not right. Because and violently destroying property around Parliament, destroying property inside Parliament, I don't think that is the right thing to do. That is completely wrong.
The whole thing happened
and
across
the only
35
the only
counties.
information that is coming out is that this demonstration were infiltrated by criminal gangs who were out advantage of the peaceful demonstration of the young Kenyans. The young Kenyans are speaking honestly. And as the president has stated, the young Kenyans will continue to be engaged beyond this. And there has to be a way of isolating criminals from the young Kenyans who are speaking about the future of the country and the democratic processes of the country, the aspirations of the country. That's a good message from the young people. But their programs have been infiltrated by criminals and political groups who want to take advantage to spoil, who want to take advantage to ride on the activities of the young people.
Yes.
And of course, at the end of the day, they'll spoil the image of these young Kenyans.
The focus is only in Parliament, but we saw demonstrations the entire day yesterday, from Malindi to Kisumu to Kakamega, Eldoret, everywhere. 35 counties across the country also were involved.
Yeah, the messaging on the finance bill, and I've said it in other media houses, and I still say it even here, the messaging around the finance bill is actually mob lynching of the finance bill. That is it's a bad thing that is coming. But very few coming out to communicate to Kenyans exactly what the finance bill is all. It's a revenue collection or raising measure that is meant to finance the budget. And the budget is 3.9 trillion shillings. That's our budget. And I think it has been passed within the appropriation bill. And the revenue collection currently for the country stands at 2.3 trillion shillings. So there is indeed a deficit of 1.6 trillion. What is collected, the loan repayment, we've not put the loan repayment on top of 3.9. The loan repayment is at 1.3 trillion. So then that takes the revenue requirement to 5.2 trillion shillings. And the 1.3 trillion plus, of course, the money that goes to free education will take. So as a country, we must move on. As a country, we must deliver the development agenda of the country. And revenue must be collected. So the conversation, and I dare say, the finance bill is an innocent document. It is, in fact, a document that is meant to raise revenue to salvage the country. The conversation, the usage of money that is collected. We should be now talking about corruption. We should be talking about accountability. We should be talking about delivery of programs. And that is what should have. So the whole message, even if you manage to organize actions, whether peaceful or violent, for the whole week, daily, in all the counties, without striking the right message for the people, then we'll still be doing wrong things. I think the messaging around the finance bill has been taken wrongly, and the lynching on the finance bill is wrong. And one thing I'm happy about is that the bill was eventually passed, and it's awaiting presidential assent.
Yes.
The president should ascend it into law as soon as he receives it, because it has been processed legally, right from the proposals at the Treasury down to the processes of Parliament, and yesterday the question was put and it unanimously passed. So we must be a country of constitutional order and law, and right now we must draw a dichotomy between democratic, lawful and constitutional governance and violent, destructive
but I believe you've given me your the account. Very well. We have the institutions mandated to do that from the public participation. Now we had the parliament doing its work. It's now waiting for the president to put down his signature on it. But then the question would be, what danger would have been caused if the signs were seen pretty early enough to stop it at some point and say, wait a minute, this is what's going to happen.
You cannot postpone.
And then go back to the drawing board and talk about it. Because the conversation out there is to,
Victor,
to drop the entire bill in its entirety.
Victor, even those clamoring for dropping of the bill do not even understand the bill. They've not read the bill.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
They've not read the bill. And the message here was that you force the president to withdraw and suspend. That was the strategy, to stop the president. And by stopping the president, you are stopping the collection of revenue. By stopping the collection of revenue, you are stopping the implementation of the budget. By stopping the implementation of the budget, you are stopping the delivery of health care. You are stopping the delivery of education. You are stopping the development of infrastructure. You are stopping the investment in agriculture. You are basically stopping the country. You are stopping the economy. I don't think that is what Kenyans want. And remember, Victor, one person was sworn in to protect the Constitution and the law in this country. There are no two people. One person. That is the president of the...
Okay.
He was sworn in to protect the law and the Constitution. And that is what he will do. You don't intimidate the president and hold the president hostage from doing what is constitutionally right through demonstrations, activities.
Let's take a look what you have on the front page of the...
It's not right. And so I believe the president will sign it into law, and the government programs will continue being executed, law and order will be enforced, and these young generations will be engaged. This is the best generation to deal with.
What do you have on the front page of the Standard, Mheshimiwa? Deaths and mayhem. That is on the front page of the Standard. Deaths, two words. That is what was characterized yesterday in an unprecedented move. Youthful protesters overran house as at least 13 protesters are gunned down. Hundreds of others injured and property worth millions of shillings destroyed in fierce day-long countrywide battles by youth with the police. President William Ruto said that the events were treasonous and vowed to hit back. That is what on the front page of the Standard newspaper. The pictures showing everything. According to Standard, the figures stand at 145 for people who were injured, 125 at 20 at various hospitals. Perhaps that figure might have dropped or gone up depending on the prevailing situation. And according to Standard, as at now, 13 people or protesters killed in demonstrations across the country. 10 in Nairobi, 3 in Nakuru, and 1 in Kitale. That's as far as this is concerned. But then, very quickly before I get back to that, same thing. On the front page of the Star newspaper, deaths, chaos, rage. Deaths, chaos, rage, still on the same. It is a case of angry mob loots parliament as anti-tax law protest sweep country. That is on the front page of the Star. For the sake of fairness, that is what is deaths, chaos, and rage. My question is, now that the president is waiting for the bill to be passed, already it's been passed, so he's just waiting to put his signature to it, to assent to it. So what next?
First, before I comment, you've pointed out what is screaming on the headlines, death and mayhem and whatnot. Now, the big question is, seeing in the headlines, does it conform with the provision of Article 37 of the Constitution? Peaceful demonstration and unarmed. Does it? It really doesn't. So we cannot take advantage of the provisions of Article 37, hide behind Article 37, and then promote violence, chaos, and anarchy. It's not right, because when we lose lives, when we lose property, and even when we lose the agenda, the principal agenda of the democratic practices that we seek to promote, peaceful demonstration. What is so expensive with engaging in peaceful demonstration? Why do you as demonstrators engage even or even throw stones even at police officers, for example? That is not right. So really, that we must draw a dichotomy between the rule of law and lawlessness, even as we undertake and audit all these activities. Now, and as I've said, this is just to intimidate the president to not to sign. It was, first of all, you intimidate Parliament, and we have seen intimidation of individual members of Parliament who voted. And that is not right. That is actually mob justice. Allow members of Parliament to use their conscience. Because from where I am, for example, as an educator, education requires 659 billion. It is from the finance bill.
I beg
Hiring
you
of
that.
more teachers,
I beg you
18 billion.
I beg you hold that.
It is higher education loans board. We need to get our university students,
let's take a break.
universities, 3 billion. And we can go on and go on and go on. The healthcare, universal health coverage, 8.1 billion.
We'll get into the
primary
figures.
Healthcare.
Let's take a break.
So you look at that.
Let's take a break.
But you have asked, if the president signs, what next?
What next?
All this will be implemented.
We'll be right back. What next? Is a break. All right, welcome back. Okay, so that is what we have here. I've just received a message from Mheshimiwa Orero saying that he is holed up in an urgent meeting and therefore he'll not make it. But the show, well, we have to do this. All right, so you are giving me certain figures there. In as far as this is concerned, perhaps you...
Yes, I'm giving you. This is what will happen. Once the president signs the bill into law, then it will give effect and guarantee of collection of revenue of at least 2.3. See, the finance bill is meant to enhance collection of revenue by at least 300 billion. So then that will take the collection to 2.8 trillion. Yes. That then gives a guarantee that the government investment programs within the line ministry, state departments, and the projects will be implemented. I was giving you, for example, education. All the JSS teachers, 46,000 teachers, will be employed under and that will require 18 billion. So that gives a guarantee. The passage gives an assurance that all the 46,000 teachers will be employed on permanent and pensionable terms. And there's an individual who has been part of this program of employment of teachers within the Kenya Kwanza administration. I'm a happy man. And there will be an additional employment of 20,000 teachers. So that means we'll have more in our classrooms and in our public schools. Our students at the universities will get through help that 6.3 billion shillings. The new university funding model will get an additional 25.5 billion shillings. So that means more funding of our university students and that is going to free the households from more responsibilities, and universities will keep coming back to life. TVET funding model will require 30.6 billion shillings. School feeding program will get 3 billion shillings. Free primary education, 9.1 billion shillings. Free day secondary education, 61.8 billion shillings. Junior secondary, 30.6 billion shillings. So that means there will be lots of robust activities within the education sector, which is a of Kenya Kwanza administration of delivering equitable quality education for all children. That is just but a bit of it. That is in education. But in the healthcare, allow me, Victor, in the healthcare, in the healthcare, but it will receive an allocation of 131 billion. So all these programs will be about investing in various programs for the services of all Kenyans, whatever.
Is that they don't want the finance bill 2024. I hear you.
No, the message of don't say the message of taxpayers saying we don't want the finance bill is misrepresented. Okay. It's miscommunicated. It is mismanaged. The people of Kenya can exercise their powers directly.
Article 1.
Or in members of Parliament.
Yes.
The elected members of Parliament have processed the finance bill and have passed it.
Why did they listen to their people? If
no,
power
they
belongs to the
there
people.
was public participation. That was done. Submissions were made. So really, Victor, I want to, even you as media, isolate facts from truth. So don't glorify lies of truth. The truth is, if it is the people of Kenya, taxpayers speaking, they have spoken through the elected representatives in Parliament by passage of the bill. And the president must exercise responsibility without being distracted to ascend it into law and ensure that the line ministries are operating. I was giving you, for example, the health care. Universal health care will receive 8.1 billion shillings. Primary health care, that is the dispensaries, will receive emergency and chronic and critical illness fund, 2 billion. Intern doctors, 3.7 billion. If you look at the budget, the way it has been planned and the allocation, it is going to free Kenyans. And so then, if we ask the question of what will the money do, and if it does exactly what is supposed to be done, you will see Kenyans in the coming years saying there is no problem with paying more taxes. If we are going to pay more taxes so that services and we don't spend, Kenyans can be freed from spending in healthcare. Kenyans can be freed from spending in education. Kenyans can be freed from buying food expensively, because one area that needs a lot of fiscal injection is agriculture. And agriculture is a major pillar of Kenya Kwanza administration. More subsidies in fertilizers, more subsidies in farm inputs, more investments in irrigation, so that then food can be available and can be processed.
Did you last year, in the last financial year, that's almost lapsing?
Yeah, the revenue last year, we may not have met because the target was 2.6 trillion.
Yes.
And the Treasury area was able to collect 2.3 trillion, up from 2.1 trillion.
So we have a short.
So it was an enhanced. So we still have a gap. And that is why the Treasury.
So the question many
that
people
is why
will be
the
asking,
Treasury.
And let me tell you. No. When you raise the tax and you raise the revenue collection to 3.92 trillion the next financial year, and yet in the last financial year we have a shortfall. That is the question most people are asking, that why raise it and yet the previous one did not meet the target?
You know, eventually, the revenue collection for the economy to stabilize and for the balance sheet to balance between revenue collection and expenditure. Collection, raising, and expenditure, the must be enhanced. Right now, as Kenya, as a ratio to GDP, our tax is standing at 14% of the GDP, and most economies around us are doing 22 to 25%. So we are still very low, and so despite the fact that we didn't get to the exact target. The finance bill of this year is revised so that it can broaden that collection. And the finance bill is not prepared by the president. It is not prepared, it is prepared by the Treasury. This is an expert's document that is prepared by the Treasury. Those are our own sons and daughters of this country who are skilled in that particular area. And once the bill was brought to Parliament, it is processed by Parliament, because power of enacting finance of appropriation bill, that is the budget, and the entire process is vested in the National Assembly, and it has the requisite infrastructure. And therefore, there is space for the public to give in terms of public participation. They did it. But then, when you introduce another avenue of mayhem and anarchy, and you tell Kenyans, oh, stop the finance bill.
Yes.
So what?
What is so special about this?
Now, let me ask you, Victor.
That's the question I also asked you.
No, I also want you to tell me. If you stop it, what next?
I need you to answer me, because that was my next question.
You're not going to collect
next?
revenue. You're not going to implement program.
But
and then
there is no danger. There is no danger in using the previous revenue collection. That is of the last financial year.
If it was not able to raise revenue up to 2.6 trillion, then it means it may not be working effectively. The law allows every year you can have you will have a financial because there is a new budget every year. Are you also saying we don't work on a budget for this year? We continue with the budget of the previous year. The needs of Kenyans are different. We have seen the needs of schools, the needs of education, the needs of healthcare, and we have been seeing doctors in the streets and the rest. You must respond to that.
I like
now
what
we
you
are
said.
seeing the Gen Z,
Yes.
this new generation. They need jobs. That's a fact, and therefore this revenue must be collected so that the development of agenda of government, particularly of investing and revamping agriculture and the production sector and manufacturing.
Sossion, I love what you said on accountability and corruption.
Yes.
Have we, because that's the big question, the biggest elephant in the room.
I will love in this country if there will be a demonstration, a peaceful one in the country to talk about accountability.
That's another elephant in the room that
we agree.
Many people are saying,
and that is why I've said.
Many people are saying that the two have not been addressed.
And I think you agree with me, Victor. I have said, and I still repeat, the finance bill is an innocent document. It has no room for any mob lynching and fighting. Let it pass. Collect revenue. The war here is on delivery of programs. Are we able to deliver? And put government to account on, have we delivered in agriculture? Have we delivered in MSME? Are we delivering in ICT? Are we delivering housing? Are we delivering universal health care? Are we delivering on infrastructure? Are we delivering in jobs creation?
What's the answer?
Those are things.
What's the answer to all those questions?
That is where we should. That is where we should focus.
What's the answer? You've elaborated. You've highlighted them very well.
Let me tell you.
What's the answer?
Can we all think and focus in that particular space? Government is able to account itself. It wants to do ABCD, but you see there is what you call political selfishness. So people want to sabotage the individuals in this country.
The Gen Z have no political affiliation.
The Gen Z,
they don't have a political interest.
The Gen Zs have been infiltrated by criminals and political
Let's not talk about infiltration.
That's a fact.
Not about infiltration.
Why?
The whole idea.
Why
are we focusing on the...
If you don't collect revenue, government will fail to implement.
Hold.
Government will fail to implement.
The initial idea was for the Gen Z.
The strategy here is to fail for government to fail in delivery. That is the intention. And I don't think we are ready to see government failing in its delivery.
So you are telling me there's a political... You are telling me there's some political hand in this?
Of course there is. Of course.
Can you authenticate
common
that?
Knowledge.
Can you authenticate that?
Common knowledge. There is.
Who are they?
There is.
Who are they?
Their interest.
Who are they?
You look around. Look around. When you see criminals infiltrating and doing all those type of things and getting in and banning property inside parliament, banning. You know, in this democratic era, we cannot imagine that a Kenyan can ban any asset, even this newspaper, to ban this newspaper in rage. You cannot do that.
What does that really symbolize?
And so...
before you continue, what does that symbolize when the protesters, broke barriers and went into parliament? It was complete mayhem.
No, don't justify. You cannot justify.
I'm not justifying anything,
justify
Mr. Sossion. I'm not justifying anything. I'm just asking a question.
You can't justify. You can't justify. What it means is that these criminal gangs, those who are infiltrating and those who are interested in stopping the finance bill, they knew they had lost. And that is why extra violent means to try and stop the finance bill.
Okay.
But you see, that will not work.
What do you think?
What I want, what I'm talking about is that Kenyans should shift the debate to accountability, to proper delivery of programs, to fight on corruption, and we need to be very specific and accurate and point out where are we having corruption and wastage in our economy. And are we having, we should now be able to audit the CDF funding. What is the CDF doing in constituencies? Are they being wasted? Are they being put into good use? Is there delivery of programs and projects at the CDF? That is what we need. At the county level,
yes.
How much wastage do we?
One interesting thing, Mr. Sossion,
national,
is that
the same thing. That is where we should shift our debate.
Thank you.
To deliver.
Thank you.
So that every year, right now, we should be talking about the 2.3 trillion that was collected through
and I have
the
so many questions to ask
Act
you.
Of last year.
I have so many questions to ask you. I hear you. The East Africa community had their budget ready for the next financial year. We've not seen any mayhem across those jurisdictions. Why Kenya?
Why Kenya? Kenya is a vibrant democracy. That is one. And it's one of the strongest democracies in the world. The only mistake, we interfere with peaceful processes like picketing and demonstrating. It is unique to Kenya in East Africa. You can't demonstrate easily in Uganda and all these other countries. The level of democracy is far much below ours. And even the public doesn't bother with the budgets that are read. The public in those countries, they don't participate in the budget making process like we do in Kenya. Here, it's an open democracy. It is a power of the people. But then it is being abused by these violent hijack a rather good cause of young Kenyans who are speaking out, who understand the provisions of their constitution. So don't think Kenya is badly off and those other countries are good. Their level of democracy is so low and people's participation is extremely low. Kenyan democracy is vibrant and people's participation is allowed. The only thing is to run our affairs within legal and constitutional means. There would be nothing wrong if the Gen Zs or any other demonstrator would picket around Parliament, submit petitions, they will be heard. If you come with documents and volumes, even with a lorry to Parliament, they will be delivered to Parliament. And those documents will be respected. They will be analyzed and treated. That is how far we have gone.
Okay.
In this country, let us do everything, but minus. We can demonstrate in all the 47 counties, shout anything, express yourselves, but with no violence. If that was done, there would be no problem. So, Victor, Kenyan democracy is one of the most vibrant in the world. That is why you will see Kenyans speaking about everything. Did you ever think that finance bill would be a big debate every year? Every year. Even next another finance bill.
There'll be another one. But
yes.
why is it not so easy or possible to make it predictable?
It is extremely predictable. It is. Because you've talked about the finance bill of last year. How much did it raise? 2.3 trillion. And we can look at that act. It's a finance act. It has been operating for the last 1 year. It will cease to operate once the president assents to the new bill into law. And so it is not mysterious. It is known. And the good thing is, with this conversation involved, the literate groups of Kenyans and even the Gen Zs, they know this finance bill will create jobs for us. They can connect. You can now connect the provisions of the finance bill with what it will do. I am sure this conversation will stabilize at a point of acceptable equilibrium of then now, because the way I look at it, scientifically, we are moving now to the next level of what is the money being collected doing? How much has been collected? And are there wastages? Where are the points of wastages? Who are wasting? What should we do about those who are wasting? What is the responsibility of what is the responsibility of the president in superintending our affairs, including collection of revenue and programs? And that is why you see people are not mentioning anybody else.
Allow me to ask this question, and I'm not saying that you speak on behalf of the president, but what do you think is running through his mind? After 9 p.m., the speech, and all that. So what do you think is running through his mind? What do you think is on his table as we speak?
You know, I cannot answer that question, Victor, because you see, you want to read the president's mind through me.
You're not his spokesperson.
I'm an ordinary Kenyan. I'm part of Kenya Kwanza administration, and I'm part of the development agenda to transform this country within the Kenya Kwanza framework. And what I know the president is very keen about is to deliver on what he promised Kenyans. That is what is dear to him. This is a president who would always want to keep his word, and who would always want to keep his promise. He promised Kenyans to deliver on its own manifesto. That is what he called the plan.
Yes.
And it's very specific. And he's very keen to do that. To free Kenyan from the debt distress. Because all this, most of this money being collected is going to the Dennis. The money that was borrowed, and we did not see what it did in terms of trillions. So we must free the country from the debt distress. And we must also deliver the development agenda. We must deliver the social services. And as you can see, tell me, which president in this country had 46,000 teachers in just one finance bill on permanent and pensionable terms? Tell me, not Jomo Kenyatta, not Moi, not Kibaki, not Uhuru. Uhuru could hire only maximum of 5,000 teachers on permanent and pensionable every year, 5,000. But William Ruto is employing 46,000 from 1st of July on permanent and pensionable terms, and onboarding another 20. I mean, even before the Almighty God and all the good angels, those who are trying to demonize the good work and the good intentions and promises of the president are not doing the right thing. I can tell you, every minute, we don't need to call the president or even talk with him. We know what he wants for the country, to implement what he promised. And Kenyans voted on the 9th of August. And that is the philosophy of the president, and it will be delivered. He's not bothered. He's not going to be dissuaded.
Let's flip it
but
this way.
He's going to listen to Kenyans. He's going to listen to Gen Zs.
No doubt about that.
Let me tell you, the president is one person
Yes.
who believes in the younger generation.
No doubt about that.
He really believes it. Even in the political space, he believes in mental health. And even going into the future, he believes in. That is why do you think he's employing, for example, 46,000 teachers?
Very well. Before I answer
because
that.
Because he knows the children in class
before you answer
the
that,
best.
What if we flipped this the other way around? What if he stopped it? What do you think would have happened? Let's talk about, the revenue collection and running the affairs of the government, politically speaking, and now coming to where we are right now. What if?
We cannot procrastinate in the development agenda of this country. We must do things with urgency. We must deliver. We must change this country. We don't have luxury of time to engage.
And do you think there are options?
No.
Do you think there are options? I believe you know. There are options to deliver development.
Well, even if there are options, those options should have been rendered by those who have those public participation stage. Because look at the process. The president is not part of it. The finance bill is generated by the treasury. The president doesn't reside in the treasury, and it is handed over to the finance committee of the National Assembly. The president doesn't sit in that committee, and it is processed through public participation, and eventually it is debated in the second, and it is voted for in the second reading. It goes to the committee of the whole, where every clause of the bill is debated and voted for. And any member of parliament, the 349 of them, who represent the people of Kenya, everywhere, will recommend amendments on each clause. So the bill is not cast in stone. It's supposed to be subjected to amendments. And the members of parliament salaries from the exchequer and from the citizens. And I don't see any reason why a member of parliament would leave his responsibility of executing his duties in parliament, which he has been given and protected to do so, to abdicate that responsibility and to gloriously demonstrate and lead demonstrators in the streets.
Okay.
No, that is not the right thing.
Okay.
So I think this process has been done, and it's not a question of, oh, why can't you postpone it? Why can't you do it? Why can't you look at it again? We'll be wasting time. That is what I've said, procrastination. You are not moving forward. The most important thing, take a decision, and if there were options, those options should have been considered. And if you look at the bill itself, it has gone through various amendments. Some of the tax proposals have been dropped. Indeed, they have been dropped. A lot considered from Kenyans. What else do you do if that has been done? So you cannot allow.
Let's take a break.
You cannot allow individuals who don't have interest in the development agenda. They don't have interest in education, like me. Do you want me to imagine that these 46,000 teachers will not be employed? They will not be in the classroom. It cannot be postponed.
I know you want them.
I want them to be in class like yesterday, and to be today. And the president has said, let it be done. And if the president has said, let it be done, who is this who wants to stop it?
And who are you to stop a break? Mr. Sossion, who are you to stop a break? Let's take a break.
I will not stop a break. You can take the break.
We have done it. Who are you to stop us from taking a break? Nobody. Welcome back. All right, so before we took a break, Mheshimiwa Sossion here, I wanted to ask you a question. The question of different entities and organizations and even some bodies coming out to say, the finance bill should be stopped at some point. The church also spoke about it, FKE spoke about it, but it had to go either way. So where are we now at this particular point, in as far as this is concerned? The president is just waiting for it to get on this table, and it will be an act of law.
Yes, the whole bravado around the finance bill has been misinformed, was actually misinformed. And the legitimate issues on specific clauses was raised. And once particular clauses which were addressed by the committee, and they have been addressed, why then again do you want the same finance bill to be withdrawn? That is putting the country in a crisis. Those who don't understand governance will find it very easy to call for its withdrawal. The operations of government cannot be postponed. The programs that are implemented are time-bound. They must begin at a certain time and be concluded at a certain time. So the various bodies, FKE and the churches, and of course FKE, Kenya Private Association, these are profit makers. And this taxation, the finance bill, is not going to spare profit makers. Their profits will definitely shrink. That's a fact. And if it is going to shrink, they're not happy about it. Those who will feel the pinch of the taxation definitely make a lot of noise. The ordinary citizen, the people at the bottom of the pyramid, who will receive the services of this revenue, have not been subjected to a lot of taxation. Because when you look at the spread out, it is going to tax the middle class and the top class mostly. And if you look at the principle of taxation, taxation will shift the burden of taxation to those at the top, the rich, the manufacturers, and and the middle class, and less on the bottom class. In fact, those at the bottom sometimes, they receive even government compensation. Like when you go to healthcare, those who can pay NHI will be paid for by the government. That is how it is structured. And so those bodies who are making noise, they've got to be very, very honest about it. Do they have any other option of government raising revenue to finance the budget and deliver services? No. And government will only respond to legal and constitutional processes. And legal and constitutional processes, it says in the budget making process, there will be window opportunity.
Okay.
And that was given. And the public participation is not a referendum. It's not a referendum to say, those of us who assuming there are 400 submissions from the public, and out of those 400, 399 are against. It doesn't mean the committee of parliament will go by the 399. No, it is not obligated. It is a merit of the arguments the committee. So if you did not give convincing arguments on the clauses, the various clauses of the finance bill, so you should shut up and wait for next year.
What do you think?
That cannot be stopped.
Yes.
The process cannot be stopped. And in fact, right now, the president should send it as quickly as possible into law and outline to the what the revenues will do. I think we are opening a new chapter that now Kenyans want to understand how this money is collected, and Kenyans want to understand how it is expended in the budget. And that is why it is now important to open a chapter and carry Kenyans along on the budget tracking process.
During
that the money that went to education,
thank you,
that went to education. 6,000 teachers really employed. Are they there? The free education, what is the money doing? Is there quality work in the classroom and all that?
During President's speech, he said that today's events mark a critical point in how we respond to threats to national security. As you answer that, let me ask you this. What do you think is going to be the political situation moving forward? How has it changed the political landscape yesterday and even days before?
No, the president has said critical turning point, not critical point.
Yes, critical turning point.
Turning point. When you talk of a turning point, it means the approach will be different. The approach to national security will be different. And the national security operates within the parameters of the law. It doesn't operate within whims and feelings and emotions of individuals. It is a law. How the law is going to be applied and how the law is going to be enforced shall be, how that is going to be done, it shall be done in a manner that secures life and that secures property. I think that is what the president meant. So he's not saying anything new. I think if there's been a lot of leniency in terms of demonstrations, in terms of picketing, and you've said there were 47 in 47 counties, there were demonstrations. But if indeed these demonstrations are hijacked by criminals and individuals with vested interest who take advantage to prosecute, to execute violence and destruction of property. You have seen the destruction of property in Parliament. The media center is been destroyed, including property. And if that is destroyed, what crime did the equipment in Parliament commit?
You know, you make me to ask you this question. If there were financiers, even the president said, in part of his speech, he said, as you respond to that, the president said that the manner in which the whole of these planes, he said that the planners, and I'll get to that very brief. But as you talk about that, as I get that speed of this part of the speech, if they are planners and financiers, with all the security apparatus and intelligence that they have in the country, this has been boiling over a couple of weeks now. Why didn't anybody take action before we got to where we got yesterday?
I am not, I don't sit in the security sector of the country. But the fundamental fact as of yesterday is that of violent actions in the demonstrations. So when demonstrations into violence, it ceases to meet the thresholds of Article 37 of being peaceful. Mm-hmm. And of course the state cannot stop demonstration. It can't. And they said so. Kithure Kindiki spoke very clearly that you demonstrate. And we saw the minister speaking clearly that you are free to demonstrate up to exactly 6:30, but do it peacefully. That was the minister of government speaking. Because we cannot stop what is provided in the Constitution. And he said, do it peacefully. Peacefully. He did not say, engage in violence. I think the message was clear. Government communicated, and government facilitated, and even provided security in different areas to control the crowds and to guide. But it was infiltrated. That was not envisaged. The security machinery of the country, even the NIS, are not angels. They are human beings. You may not be able to detect everything. And tell me, Victor, we've known Parliament has been respected. The President is the most respected entity within Kenya. Who are these who pull down the perimeter fence of Parliament?
The protesters?
No. It's not just by the time you pull down, then you are a criminal, you are not a protester. You become a criminal. You are not a protester. You pull down, get into Parliament, but if you get into Parliament and picket, assuming that was done, that would be a different thing. So really, I want us to have a dichotomy between violence and peaceful means, between what should have been done and what should not have been done. This picture of violence and actions of violence expect the security agencies to clap and entertain individuals violating the law. So what the president has said, it marks the turning point.
Yes.
That means there will be no more exceptions.
And here's the statement from the president. Allow me to read it. As I assure the nation of government, as I assure the nation of the government's determination to fulfill its constitutional duty of protecting the people of Kenya against any form of harm, put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy, that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy. That
now you can see the planners and financiers. Don't tell Kenyans that there is no leadership. There is. There is. Those financing, those planning. We know there is, and in the fullness of time, it will be known. The Gen Zs are genuine.
Okay.
But
very well. So what do you think is the face of Kenya out to the international community? We saw other countries, the US give their statement, UK also gave their statement, and some other countries also gave their statement as far as this is concerned. How do you think the image of Kenya is being shown out there, having in mind in our international platform as well?
The image is dented with violence. No country can be proud or can be respected anywhere if it is inflicted by violence or if there is violence. It's not that I can tell you for free. But if there were peaceful demonstrations, people picketing, that would be the best thing. It would be the best story. We'll score very well globally. We have scored a lot. We've got a lot of scores in terms of democracy. But we ruin it by having this denting, using violence activities. And this is where the planners come in, the financiers, it is known. And this is a fact. It's a very sorry thing, Victor, that some people sponsor crimes to bring down the country instead of supporting democratic processes to develop the country. And these are facts. From the context of the president's speech, we should be able to flag out issues that are very critical and concerning. And as you can see, planners and financiers, they are there. And this marks a critical turning point, it will be. And so, even if they say they are coming every week, every week or every day, it is possible in Kenya to demonstrate anytime you want, provided you notify the police. But the Constitution says peacefully. So the moment you do something outside the peaceful, the clothed, peacefully and unarmed, peacefully and unarmed. So you don't skip those provisions. The moment you skip, it becomes criminal activities that require dealing with it with the
very well. The protesters, or the organizers who call themselves the Gen Zs, they've said they are going to continue. So what do you think is going to soften their stance? Or would soften their stance?
The president has not said there will be no demonstrations. Has he said so?
Not?
He has not. If they will be there, it will be within the Constitution.
I'm talking about the Gen Z. So what do you think is going to soften their stance?
I can't speak for them, for the Gen Zs, honestly. But the president has said they will be engaged.
There's a conversation.
Even in this statement, they will be engaged. That I can tell you. I don't lie, I believe in it, and I know what the president says, he means it. He is not trying to pacify and massage for the sake of it. The president is so committed in the youth. And I've said, if you look at it in the political space, he is always very keen in mentoring young political leaders. And when these Gen Zs have come out, these are young Kenyans with lots of people will lead Kenya tomorrow.
Yes. So what would be the solution?
They will be engaged within the framework of the law.
Yes.
Within the framework of government, and within the framework of the aspirations of those Gen Zs.
What do you think
they will be engaged?
Would at least to give them that hope? Because as it says,
I think the most important thing is the pronouncement of the president of commitment to engage. That's enough. Once there is commitment to engage, then the next thing will be, how do you do it? What are the existing government infrastructure that will do that? There's a Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs, so youth affairs. These Gen Zs are the youth. So we are not reinventing the wheel in terms of how to deal with them and their challenges. It's a matter of we've got to energize and focus more on them. When we talk of unemployment, it affects them.
Because we're running out of time. How do you think this thing has changed the entire political landscape moving forward?
Yeah, moving forward, what has come out very clearly is that the young generation aspire for a very good country. That's a good. The young generation, they aspire for a good country, and they're not going to be bystanders. This country has to be run honestly within the Constitution and the law, which the president is doing and has committed to do so. And that is why he will have to sign the finance bill into law without being intimidated from any quarter and continue running government. Urgent issues that touches on the youth unemployment, job creation, economic recovery, extricating the country from the debt distress, implementing the budget, and implementing the key pillars of his agenda, that of refarming agriculture, strengthening micro, small, medium enterprise. Those are spaces where there are manufacturing,
so there is hope.
ICT.
So there is hope.
A lot of hope.
Okay. Mr. Sossion, I want you to do something.
So the product of all this conflict will be a happy ending.
Your camera is
cameraman. We shall have a better Kenya.
Your camera is cameraman. You are a teacher by profession. Assume you're talking to your students, you're talking to your kids, you're talking to your son or your daughter. That is your camera, and I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm going to give you 30 seconds and talk to them. Go ahead. That is.
Rise to the occasion and let us not destroy Kenya. Work with the president. The president means well for all the youth of this country, and the government means well. Your space and your right for employment and the right to participate in nation building is guaranteed, and the president and his government will engage you in broad conversation on your interest and the interest of the nation.
Thank you. Best way for us to wrap it up. If I added anything, I would spoil the froth. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Wilson Sossion. Former NAT Secretary General. He's a long-standing teacher with a lot of experience. CAS?
Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife.
Asante sana for coming.
The Kenya Funds Administration.
Let's be peaceful wherever we are. Let's remain peaceful wherever we are. Let's remain peaceful wherever we are. I repeat, there is somebody called Aristotle. One of the Aristotle golden mean rules say that in everything you do, always, right? Let's do it with moderation. I'm Victor Oloo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.